In the first video, I talked about how the church is called to evangelize. The church exists to evangelize. And I want to talk in this video about how we started strong as a church in the earliest days of the church, but then perhaps veered off course throughout history and got into a rather safe zone, safe mode, if you will. So now we need to recapture that sense of excitement and urgency. It was the earliest days of the church where they had that urgency and that excitement. Immediately after the resurrection and ascension of Jesus Christ, the apostles were filled with the Holy Spirit, and they were compelled to go out into the world to talk about the gospel, to tell others the good news, the story of Jesus Christ and our salvation. Now, they did this in a time of great peril and difficulty and danger. They did this at the threat of their own lives and livelihood in preaching the gospel. It was not exactly welcomed. In fact, it was illegal to be Catholic, to be Christian, to proclaim the good news at that time. And yet, what do we see? In that time of heroes and martyrs, the church grew exponentially at that time. And a few centuries later, with Constantine, it became the law of the land. It became normalized, that is Christianity. And so it was a little safer to preach and live the good news. And yet there was still that sense of urgency. We have to keep growing, keep going out to all the world. And over the centuries, there were times of urgency and times of retreating back into that safe harbor, if you will. Even in the United States, our ancestors came here so that we could proclaim and live our faith with freedom. And yet Catholics weren't exactly welcomed. Yes, there were some enclaves, say in Maryland and Louisiana and other places, but really Catholics were tolerated at best. And even as late as the early 20th century, Catholics were still persecuted in this country. It was after the Second World War, though, that we found our footing and our voice, and we established schools and many hospitals and Catholic charities and outreach centers and everything, and we became really a big part of the culture of the United States. In fact, in the 60s, we had a Catholic president in the White House. And however, because of that, because it was normalized, because it was safe, because it was really the expected thing, I think Christianity, we kind of lost that urgency, I think. We lost that excitement, that urgency, that need to go out and preach the good news with all our heart, all our lives. We forgot that we are the church. We are called to do this. We entrusted the preaching and living of the gospel to sisters, brothers, priests, the professionals, if you will. So we needed to wake up. Now it's hard to look at our history. It's not easy to do that, but I think we have to. I think we need to remember who we are, who we were. We are to, again, do what Jesus said to do, and that is to go out into all the world. In the next episode, I want to talk about the difference between being a disciple and being an apostle, and how we are called to be both.